Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to those of you who do support me on Patreon. So a big shout out to Abraham Muhammad, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Erwin, let's just get this name right, Jan Sens, hopefully I'm getting your name right, new Patreon, Erwin, I can definitely say that, so shout out to you, Erwin. Really appreciate your support. Thanks for joining me on Patreon. Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Jaronism, Joshua, Kirsten, Life is Short, Matt, Nagara, Hebali. Hope I'm saying your name right as well. Just read it slowly. Nagara. I'll try and say your name a few times before I shout you out again on the Patreon shout out. But thank you very much again for joining me, new Patreon. Really appreciate your support. Naibai, Qatar Craig, Reinhardt, Rene, Sally Ballis, Sam Hine, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, The Flat Earth Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker and Tom Hawkins. Really appreciate all of your support. Now, I do have a couple of people already in G+. However, I've started this recording quite a lot earlier than I was expecting to because, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, my wife's out at an interview, so that will mean that I'm stuck for the first time running the show with baby Eleanor, so that might mean prolonged periods of silence. So I'm going to explain it to each of the guests in the G+ Hangout so they understand that if this is a fairly dead airy show, then they'll understand why. So I'm going to do exactly that now. Is there anybody new in the Hangout? It's just Righteous and Flatsoid.
Still so.
Yeah, it's just us.
Did you hear what I said to Flatsoid earlier in regards to...
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So I won't repeat it. But I will when anybody else new joins.
Alright.
For now, I'm good. I've got about 15 minutes before I'm left holding a screaming baby. So you might not hear much from me.
Is this why you started early to prep us?
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that while my wife still is here, I can, get all the show set up and do a decent enough intro. And then at the point that she actually disappears, the show's kind of already running, which is a little bit less stressful.
Does that mean you're going to do maybe one show today?
I don't know. That will depend entirely on whether or not there's a live Ballbuster show on Quantum Eraser channel, Be Here or Be Sphere. If so, then there'll be one show today, because I don't need an extra show over the weekend. So the two shows on Friday, both of which get switched off. I'll plug that for the audience. I am recording, by the way. So if you're... No, there's no point. They're already subscribed if they're listening to this. Forget it. But yeah, anyway. The two shows that go out on this channel on Friday will both go out on... let me get it right. No. I'll have to think about this. I'm a bit fuzzy-headed. But I think I'll maybe drop one of the shows if there's a Ballbusters, basically.
Okay, how about this? You just let me know when you want everybody moved. Or QE.
Okay.
Either... I might be gone for... at one period, so you might have to ask QE.
Okay. To boot people to the after show, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. So just assume for now that there's going to be a second show.
Gotcha. So what were you doing? Just recording a lot of dead air?
No, not yet. Hopefully there won't be a great deal of dead air, but I want to pre-warn the audience in case there is. like I say, in about 15 minutes, it'll be the case that I'm holding a very noisy child that's going to be, not conducive to chatting. But if that ultimately means that I'm not chatting at all, I'd rather do a dead air than sounds of screaming baby.
Okay, but I thought you just said you started recording already, so our conversation got recorded?
No, it didn't. Whatever your conversation was about, it didn't get recorded.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
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 Hello, hello.
Yeah, I'm in Discord today.
Does it not work?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Is that Paul that just joined? Hey, Paul.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this morning?
Very well. Good to have you.
Hey guys, hello, hello.
I'll just repeat what I've just told the other guys, Paul. So, like you on most days, there's going to be my youngest with me when my wife goes out for an interview. So if there's prolonged periods where I'm just not saying anything, don't automatically assume that I've disappeared. Just assume there's too much noise for me to speak. So if you say, can you share my screen? I will share your screen, and so on and so forth, because I will still be sat here. Does that make sense?
I definitely share your pain, definitely.
Well, it's the first, so Clover and I haven't run the show before. So we'll see how she gets on, see what her production skills are like.
Oh, we can check the watch page to see when you share us.
That's the only bit that's going to be super stressful, doing the actual live show. Go on.
I usually keep the live show playing in the background for one, so you can get the ad revenue or the revenue from it. But I'll keep an eye on it myself too.
It should be fine. Like I say, because now I've got a new screen. No matter what I'm doing, I can at a glance see everything that's going on. So I'm not too concerned. Plus, I've done it when I didn't really know what I was doing with a different child at the same age, if that makes sense. So I've been doing the debate for longer than I realised, and yeah, Eleanor was this age, sat on my knee doing this exact same thing if you go back to the really early shows. So it's not like it's going to be new, but this time I've got more laid out. I can actually see what's going on at all times. I don't have to grab the mouse and move windows around to see something that might be, not right.
Yeah, those are interesting days. Sometimes Eleanor jumped on you and you're like, I could tell you were panicking kind of thing.
Yeah, there was a few moments like that back in the day. Because you don't know what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm of the opinion that you kind of have to do things to learn how to do them, and often that means you start off doing them badly. There we go. Even then,
Nathan,
go on.
Did you get my message in Master B? Private message you?
It wouldn't be a private message if it was in Master B, but let's have a look.
I'm sorry, in Skype.
I didn't actually see anything from you, I'm afraid.
It's no hurry, but I found show 903 where...
I did see that, yes, sorry. I lie, I did see that message.
All right, anyway, I found it for you for later toe tag if you wanted to.
Remind me what it was. I saw it when I first woke up.
It was Rumpus. Talk about Coriolis and walking on the equator at 5 miles per hour. And it was a good laugh.
Yes, I will watch the section on that video. You timestamped it nicely as well. Thank you very much. Very, very useful.
You will laugh. You will laugh your head off.
I don't see the rumpus hanging around Discord, like the usual channels.
Wasn't he just on this last week?
He was, but only like during the show, and then he leaves like shortly after. Last time he was here, I wasn't sure if I should unmute him. I just I kept him on mute, and then when Nathan unmuted him, he just left.
Yeah, if he's rumpusing, you can mute him. If he's not rumpusing, there's no need to.
Well, I left the rumpus to Nathan.
I'm going to get out and start my computer, see if I get back on the normal panel. I'll be back.
All right. I wouldn't mind seeing what it would be like with the rumpus and Zanuck in Discord.
All they're going to do is say, "You don't understand."
Yeah, but they might do that to each other. Because remember, ballers sometimes don't agree.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's all they're doing. You don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to be doing.
Half tempted to start the live show early, but then again, I'll be cutting into Arwen. It's a bit unfair, right?
Oh, the live show?
Yeah. Sod it. Like show 1005, it's not like anybody's going to be super fussed if I'm sat here with a sprog. If it was the 1000th show, you'd be like, no, you don't probably want to keep it as slick as possible, but one of the unfortunate realities of being a YouTuber, you end up getting stuck holding the baby.
Here in the U.S., we're about to go through daylight savings ourselves, so if you're worried about starting early, we'll be right back on track with you here soon. So just to be aware.
On the time, yeah, your clocks will go back again when?
I think it's this weekend. I'll look it up real quick.
Right. Yeah, go on.
I never knew the time zones changed differently across the world. Like, for us, it doesn't change until like the 3rd or 4th. So you're like on a different schedule all of a sudden for me.
Yeah, it happens on the third here. So Sunday the 3rd, it'll switch over. So we'll be all on the same schedule then.
I think in the internet days, it'd be all synchronized to be the same across the world.
No, they want it confusing.
What were you going to say, Nathan?
I said they want it to be confusing.
But before I interrupted you.
I can't remember.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
That's okay. I think I was just going to talk about when I started the live show. I was just going to say, yeah, sod it. I'll stick to the usual schedule. I've scheduled the show for 2, so I'll start at 2. Hopefully, with any joy, there'll be a few more guests on the panel by then, so it won't be the end of the world if I can't talk.
Hey, Nathan, to run the show, do you need a good graphics card or just a good processor to run it? I mean, I've got a good PC now. I bought one, it came in this week. But do you need a good graphics card or just a good processor to run?
A modern CPU's got a built-in graphics processor anyway, so you're just using more of the capabilities of the chip. And yeah, certainly you can run a show without a graphics card. You don't need a graphics card. But obviously you're then working the CPU harder. So I intentionally send the rendering off to the graphics card rather than having the CPU do it, so that it just splits the workload. But the reason I do that is to keep things quiet, so that the fans don't come on anything, which just means that you can't hear them. It just annoys me on other people's show when someone talks and you hear that just annoys me. So I want a silent PC. So for that reason, I've actually got a far more powerful than necessary graphics card, but it means that it's obviously totally underutilized and the fans don't ever come on, which is just what I wanted it. That's the reason I got it. So no, you don't need a graphics card. Yes, if you've got one, it's useful.
Can you send the specs on the one you got? And Righteous, since you're a gamer, can you send the specs on the one you use?
I'm not a gamer. Far from it. I don't play games. Far from it. Never have. Well, I say I never have. My folks used to run a computer shop when I was growing up as a child. But yes, I played computer games when I was a kid. But no, I'm definitely not a gamer. I do not play video games, and that's not why I bought the graphics card.
Oh, I know, but I know Righteous does. So I was curious what graphics card he uses, and I was just going to see if I could find something that's just in case I did want a game, I would have a capability. But if I'm running a show, that kind of thing. So I'm just trying to find a balance.
I took a pretty basic one. I didn't think I would need more than that because let's just say basically I want to upgrade mine around New Year or something like that. So I wouldn't suggest what I'm using. I'm using a 1050 Ti, and now with this next generation of games, I don't know. You need something better than that.
Hey QE, good timing. So, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Are you doing a Ball Busters on Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, one show today. So once this live show ends, if you're around, Righteous, just kick everyone straight to after show. There'll only be one show.
All right, if I'm around, if not, QE can take over. Because yeah, like around, what is it? About an hour and a half from now, I'm going to take a small break. So
No breaks.
around.
Sorry. They're not authorized.
What's the punishment for going AWOL? No punishment. You're free. Don't worry about it.
Why one show? Hello? Radio check. Is my mic working?
We're here.
Sometimes
why is there only one show?
Because if there's a Ball Busters on Saturday, I don't need a Saturday show. So I can mirror Ball Busters 12 hours later, and that counts as I want to do at least a show a day. Well, I don't need to do an extra show today to mirror on Friday, so that the two shows I do on Friday can go out Saturday and Sunday, because I've already got a show to cover that slot if you're doing Ball Busters. Plus it's extra work, so I don't need to monitor a show as well as actually do a live show recording on Saturday. So preferably I don't want a show to go out then. Does that make sense? We're extra work. And today, extra work that isn't needed. That said, I'm then keen that you will actually do a Ball Busters if I don't do a show today. Because the last time I said, I anticipated that you might have an issue. So just on the off chance I did an extra show on the Thursday. And then, lo and behold, Ball Busters was cancelled for internet reasons. But today, given that you've had enough break-in period, I would say everything's hunky-dory, right? You're all set. It should go as smooth as butter.
Yeah, the Discord advice I got yesterday was incorrect for my mic, but I've overcome that. And yes, Ball Busters Saturday.
Excellent.
Live from Discord.
Cool.
And that would be Betty's Discord server. Shout out to Betty. Flat Earth Science versus Pseudoscience.
Link below. Oh,
you know what? There might be a new link, because that's a kind of a new room. Hold off on that. It'll definitely be in the info box of the show. So,
right. even as I was saying it, I was thinking, actually, there's not a link below because the people watching this are watching it on my second channel, and there's no way to join. So there is no link below. That's a total lie. But if this were live, there would be. But even then, that link wouldn't take you to the Ballbusters part of Discord, but it would take you to the server and you can join and all that stuff. So the one that's not there.
Are you kind of early today?
Yeah, I should have explained that when you joined. So, Mark, any minute. Oh God, she's late. I'll be right back. Can someone else explain?
He's having to watch the baby, so he started early, and also he may be going silent because he's taking care of the youngin. That's basically why.
So if we don't hear from him and we got to share something, he might be sharing, but won't be able to tell us that he's sharing.
Yeah, just when you say, can you share my screen, and you don't get a reply, assume that I've heard you and have shared it and the audience can see, and then carry on. But rather than, the audience will see whatever it is you're waiting to present, but not hearing you present it because you don't hear me reply saying, yes, you're on screen.
This family and no work thing is kind of rearing its head today. Yeah, it's starting to get in the way.
Should I send her back?
Nah. We won't have any of that.
I'm watching Boss Baby. There was an episode on Netflix where they had to recall on one of the babies because it wasn't acting right, so they had to put it in front of TVs to get it to act right. I thought that was hilarious. It was funny.
Funny because it's true for a very large percentage of people. TV is the babysitter, right?
Yep, I understand that. Hey, I was Go ahead, John.
Where's Tony?
No, but I hope he turns up because I'm really keen to go through the Fundy Bible.
Let me see if I can't contact him here.
Have you guys actually thought about setting up a live stream where your videos are constantly playing?
Isn't that what I do?
What I mean is like 24/7 does a constant, like it's constant recording and streaming straight to YouTube constantly. But there's another, like I think Robbie Davison and some other people take videos and stream them live like a channel. Like if you want to go watch, and of course you don't know what's going to be playing, but it's constantly playing the same videos. It just loops them, and you can add a video and it puts that in the loop and it keeps playing them. You guys thought about that? I thought maybe Kiwi, especially something like that for his.
I have thought about it, but to be honest,
it would overwhelm the audience. It would too much content.
Exactly, oversaturate the audience. Correct. That's why I thought after considering it.
Oh, okay.
There's plenty of content, so because of the way it's structured, like although it's not exactly on these numbers, but every 12 hours a debate comes out with new content. So on the second channel, whatever it is, it's actually about 8 or 10, I forget, hours after the live show finishes, there's the Uncut and After show. Well, that contains 50% new content. Obviously, the live show sandwiched in between, but it's all new content beginning and end of the show. So then you obviously got the live show each day. So that's, it's 2 hours every day, every 12 hours of new content from me. Well, if you've also got a 24/7 repeat stream running, I don't know. I don't think it. Maybe in 5 years, if things still go as well as they have been, then that might be useful because there's going to be people who haven't got the vaguest clue what's being talked about. Maybe, I don't know.
And it might be not just so you do all your videos, just the ones that are impactful, like the toe tags, or when a topic was unpacked really well and it was dealt with. That would be more the ones, not just like every single video you have, because you've got thousands of 1,000 videos, but just the key ones that are kind of on a loop or something. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my toe tag playlist, so I know what you're saying. I could just play what is essentially the toe tag playlist on a 24/7 stream, so people can see Mick West getting smashed over and over again. But they can just go to the toe tag playlist. And like I say, I want to keep the amount of debates, fresh material every 12 hours. For me, that's good. I don't want to overwhelm people by having old stuff going out constantly when there's new stuff every 12 hours.
Well, that's a good point. And obviously, a thing to do, change and evolve in the debate, because it's part of the interaction. Yeah. So.
Evolve.
Right. Yeah, evolve. So you listen to an early debate and you've got, evolve. It's a bit slow on the uptake.
That was like a delayed reaction.
That's why I enunciated it. I knew it had triggered John.
They've changed, or we have changed in our debating skill. You listen to an early show, say show 50, and you can hear us begging the question and arguing about how much the calculator's right, and it's just almost embarrassing to listen back to. But, you know, that's how you learn, right?
Yeah. Well, and actually, just so you know, the word evolve used to just mean change. You know, things change. But that's, of course, it's now become some magic mechanism that creates all life forms, you know. So.
How can things be changing, create anything, any new life forms? Wouldn't you have to have the things that are changing exist first? So how can it create life forms?
Well, don't you?
Don't you? No, I don't. That's a non sequitur fallacy from the Black Lagoon. You need to go back and try to rethink your claim.
But they have these self-replicating molecules, John.
Oh, really? Self. Molecules have selves. Define self.
Well, wait a minute, John. We've created the cell membrane in the lab.
Oh, you created them. So that was intelligent design. Thanks. That's my argument. Any other claims?
Yeah, I've got one. There's a special type of bacteria that, when it was introduced to nylon, it changed the way it behaved so that it could actually digest the nylon or process the nylon. And obviously, nylon being man-made, it didn't exist to be digested. So the bacteria had to evolve. I believe it was E. coli, but it evolved to eat a man-made substance, which obviously didn't exist before, so it had to be evolution. There you go. Boom! Evolution proven.
It wasn't E. coli. It wasn't E. coli.
Well, what was it then? My example that I'm demonstrating evolution with. You tell me.
I can't recall which bacteria it is, but didn't we go over this the other day?
Yeah, I was just reiterating it on behalf of the fundy that would have put it later on in a far less concise and far more rumpusy type way.
Well, the inventor of nylon, I think his name was Wallace Carruthers. That gets his name. I can't, don't hold me to that. He made his new invention and patterned after it proteins. And the units are aminohexanoic acid. You hear that amino acid in that part? Yeah. So these bacteria develop a mutation in the catalytic cleft of an enzyme that digests proteins, right? So, in other words, this catalytic cleft lost its specificity like a lock and a key, right? If you have a lock and a key, let's say you bash in the lock and you open up that keyhole a little bit more, right? It allows more oligomers or more protein oligomers to fit inside the catalytic cleft without compromising the original ability to digest the original proteins, right? So lots of keys can fit in that lock, and nylon just happened to fit in that lock. So there is no evolution, whatever that is. I have no idea. Can somebody please tell me what that is? Yeah, but it's been 12 years. You'd figure I'd get a definition out of here. There is no scientific theory of evolution. So, yeah, that one goes down the tubes too. Any more like jars of bacteria?
Well, I've got at least attempt at a version of a fundy globehead rebuttal. Come on, give me a chance. You don't understand nylon.
Yeah.
I can breathe. Oh,
You're gonna have some. Are you gonna have some radio difficulties? Radio check. Lost 3. This is lost 1. Are you lost 2? Over.
But John, we've bred fruit flies that have these different hairs on the back of their back, and you know these
really?
these peppered moths things. You know they were white, now they're gray. Come on, don't you understand peppered moths, John?
Peppered moths, eh? Well, you're really going back in the day. And what's that example of?
I don't know. They change over time. The environment changed. They changed.
Change over time, huh? That sounds like the second law of thermodynamics to me.
It does, but things.
I know
gain
that
information, John. You've got new information, so there's more information in this fruit fly now. You know that it can.
Where'd you get information?
Well, it just is. You know, we have proteins. We have these things called atoms. We have molecules. That's
a lovely story. That's not answering my question.
DNA.
There you go. DNA.
Where'd you get DNA at?
Inside the stuff that's being created.
Inside the stuff that's being created?
Yeah.
How did you get the stuff that's being created?
Well, it was created.
But remember those self-replicating molecules I told you about? That's DNA.
Yeah, we already went over that. I said define self.
You just don't understand, John.
I don't understand. Okay, let's see. Peppered moths. This is from Matthews, L. Harrison, Introduction to Darwin, Charles, Origin of Species. The experiments beautifully demonstrate natural selection or survival of the fittest in action, but they do not show evolution. For however the populations may alter in their content or light, intermediate or dark forms, all the moths remain from beginning to end Biston Betullaria. Thank you. Have a nice day. I'll be here all week. You want some more? From the California State Board of Education. Students should understand that this is not an example of evolutionary change, whatever that is, from light-colored to dark-colored to light-colored moths, because both kinds were already in the population.
I got one for the moths.
Hello, McFly. Essay.
But mutations, John, they mutated. Don't you get it? Mutation has the ability to do this.
Hold on a second. Mutations. Don't you need DNA first?
Yeah, that's what I said, DNA.
Yeah. Where'd you get nucleosides from? Do you even know what a nucleoside is? Why don't you tell us what a nucleoside is?
I don't know. You don't understand nucleosides.
You having radio problems now?
I just know you don't know what they are.
I don't know what nucleosides are.
Yeah, you don't. That's my rebuttal. You don't know what nucleosides are.
Oh, I don't know. They are bases and sugars. Specifically, ribose. It's a pentose sugar. You know the difference between ribose and deoxyribose?
One's got 2 oxys. Tell me I'm wrong.
We ain't going into this. I'm not doing this with you.
This is fun.
You must have an oxymoron.
Let's just summarize that though. Right on. Where'd you get the DNA? Where did that come from?
It's a deoxymoron.
Deoxymoron. Boom boom.
It's actually worse than that, Nathan. Is where do you get the molecule to begin with? There's that guy I posted on Master B that talks about the problems even synthesizing those molecules. So it's not just a matter of having them. You've got to get them to begin with to even use them to make something else.
It's the second law of thermodynamics violation. Nucleoside synthesis and nucleotide synthesis is uphill. That is, it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. It will not happen spontaneous or at any temperature. Friggin' duh.
Oh, hang on. See, that's against my understanding. What about the primordial soup? What about lightning and sludge and just the right chemical compounds and a little bit of lightning and Bob's your uncle, right?
Bob's your uncle. Yeah. What happens when lightning hits anything?
You get a bit of electricity and then Frankenstein comes to life, the monster.
What happens? Here's another one. What happens when oxygen comes in contact with substances typically?
Yeah, that gets oxidized. Where'd you get the lightning?
The lightning from clouds.
Where'd you get the clouds?
From the hydrological cycle.
Where'd you get here we go. You gonna play this game? Okay, where'd you get the hydrological cycle?
From the water.
Where'd you get water?
From the ground.
Where'd you get the dirt?
Don't forget that comet came and impacted with Earth, and that's how we got water. That
there
comet,
you go.
Come on now.
Saved by Paul. Came from.
Where'd you get the comet?
The comet. Yeah, that's right. They were all covered in snow. They're like giant snowballs, and they bombarded Earth with snowballs, and that's where the water came from.
All right. Where'd you get the asteroids, the snowball asteroids?
From the sky vacuum.
Sky vacuum?
Yeah. Outer space.
You got it from outer space? Where'd you get outer space?
That's just already there by default. I just assume that's the case.
Oh, it's there by default.
Yeah.
Really?
And I can prove it.
Okay.
Walk outside. Look at the sky. There you go. Sky vacuum.
That's circular reasoning.
No, because yeah. Hold on, you haven't mentioned gas. Go ahead.
Yeah, where you have to state where you got this sky vacuum. Where did you get the vacuum? Where did you get space from?
Big Bang.
The Big Bang. So you have a singularity. You don't
understand the Big Bang. Singularity came afterwards.
The singularity came after the Big Bang.
That's right, yeah.
Come on, we have infinite heat and infinite density. Don't you guys get this? And out of that came all this.
You can't have infinite density. You can't. That's impossible.
Yeah, I've got the maths for it.
Let's see them.
It's very simple. You've got nothing to begin with. That would be zero. Zero stuff. Well, then all you need to do is just divide that up.
Divide everything by zero.
Well, you haven't got anything to begin with, but when you divide that nothing, you end up with, wait for it. Wait, hold on. You end up with absolutely everything. It's amazing. There you go. I've got it covered in the maths.
So wait a second. You got nothing, and you divide that by zero.
That's correct.
Who can argue with that?
Nobody. It's right because I made it up myself. Actually, I didn't. It's the basis of the heliocentric religion, as opposed to some total nonsense I just made up. That's actually the basis of a lot of people's religion. Hallelujah.
If you think about it, all religions have to answer, I think, 3 questions, if I can think of it off the top of my head. Where did everything come from?
I just explained that. Divide by zero.
I know.
Covered. Got it covered.
Okay, I'm not. I was just actually making it across the board. So yeah, you can do that if you want to. But where did everything come from? What is the nature of man? And what is man's destiny? All 3. Every religion has to answer those 3 questions. And even in Scientism, they have the origin of the universe, the nature of what man is, and then the ultimate demise of the universe. They all have to answer those 3 questions.
Yes, no worries. So, what is man? An insignificant speck of dust at the centre of an ever-expanding, infinite nothingness, expanding into an not quite described other nothingness. I'll come to that later. But an ever-expanding nothingness, man is just a speck of dust at the centre of that. Well, not even at the centre, kind of off on one arm, somewhere over there. Not very important. And as for man's destiny, well, destined to turn into slightly more fragmented dust. Not very important. Man isn't important in this list. In fact, you might as well go and kill yourselves. You're just not important. You're just a speck of dust.
That was inspirational.
Yeah, man. Heliocentric religion is very inspirational.
You wouldn't happen to have any scientific evidence of that, would you?
Didn't I give they... I'm sure I gave you that earlier. In fact, no. I correct my phraseology. I've already given it you.
Oh, I must have missed that part. What's the observed phenomena?
Sky vacuum.
The sky vacuum's the observed phenomenon. That's your dependent variable. What is your hypothesis, please?
The sky vacuum.
What is a scientific hypothesis?
I don't know, but my hypothesis is it's a sky vacuum. What's wrong with that?
So you don't know what a hypothesis is, yet you're giving me a hypothesis. Got it. Thanks.
I do. I've just given it you. I'll give it you again. It's a sky vacuum. That's the hypothesis.
What aren't you just repeating your claim?
It's a sky vacuum. You're not giving me enough to rumpus with here. I wanted to say it 16 more times while you tried to talk, but I didn't get a chance.
Here's one. If you're done with the sky vacuum, if I'm nothing but a bunch of processes going on, chemical processes, laws that are interacting with one another, how can you make any truth claim? Answer that one for me.
Can you repeat it, please?
If I'm just a bunch of chemical processes from the rise of the so-called Big Bang in a vast nothingness, how can I make a truth claim?
I give up. Tell me.
You can't. So how do you know if it's true if it's just a bunch of chemical processes? How would you even know? The only way something can be true is if you can rise above the nature of who you are. You have to rise outside, become outside of it, be something more than who you are.
What the hell?
No. You can't do any of that. None of that's real in the heliocentric religion. That's all nonsense. There's only physical stuff.
There's no what now? Say that again?
There's only physical stuff. None of that ethereal bullshit.
So how does physical stuff make a truth claim?
It doesn't. You're insignificant. You're a speck of... Didn't I cover all this?
Exactly. So you're starting to see my point. You can't. It doesn't. So all these ballers that believe all we are is a bunch of chemical processes occurring are making truth claims. But under their paradigm, how do we know their truth claims are real? How do we know my truth claims are real? How do we know any truth claim is real?
Yeah,
so what you're saying is inanimate objects don't have consciousness, correct?
There you go.
And neither do you. You're an insignificant speck of dust with no consciousness. Get over it. You don't have to like it.
Well, some of us have no consciousness, but most of us do.
Nathan, is that statement true?
Well, you're just having trouble accepting that you're an insignificant speck of dust in an endless expanding, never-ending vacuum, and you just don't like it.
You don't have any scientific evidence for any of your claims. You don't even know what a hypothesis, for crying out loud. What you need to do is maybe reconsider your vocation. Try carnival.
I gave you a hypothesis.
That wasn't a hypothesis.
No, you just didn't like the hypothesis.
That was a noun. Nouns aren't hypotheses.
You don't understand nouns.
Yeah. champion debater right here, boy.
That
Where'd you graduate from? Tuco Community College in Tobago?
Fundy High. Fundy Globe High.
Fundy High. You need to get in contact with your lawyer, and you need to file suit tomorrow morning for failure to provide services. You have an open and shut case.
I'll contact them immediately.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Quantum Eraser, Righteous Force, Paul, and I think that's it in G+. Good to have you all.
Good morning.
Morning. A few people in Discord as well. I have to scurry to get you all off mute, but welcome one and all in Discord.
Hello.
Are you scurrying?
I am scurrying. I think we're there. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Not from Portugal.
From Portugal.
Plenty of Earth curvature in Florida.
You have Earth curve in Florida or no Earth curve in Florida?
Lots of curve.
Oh, excellent. Tell us all about it.
Well, I was on the beach. I had the binoculars out. I mean, I love to get the P1000, but I just had some 8x binoculars. Watching some anchored ships at about 12 miles, 13 nautical miles. And this was darndest thing. As I walked down to the water, I could barely see the tops of a ship. Just make out the mast. And then I walk up the beach, go up, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 feet in elevation, and I could see half a ship. It was really wild. Really some amazing effects of curvature.
Wow, you have an effect, right? So what is the cause of that effect? My mic working?
Oh, the cause of effect? That's the Earth's curvature.
So you have a hypothesis, right?
No, I have Earth's curvature. It was really, really cool to see with my own eyes using binoculars and just going up and down the beach.
Calm down now. Okay, we got it. So I say again, you have a hypothesis. Earth curvature causes ships to disappear over the horizon, correct?
Sorry, say that again. You say that Earth's curvature makes the ships disappear over a horizon from the bottom up? Is that what you said?
That's what you're saying.
What was the other fellow saying?
Oh my God.
Explaining to you that you have a hypothesis. If this, then that. Natural phenomena, according to you, is boats disappearing, cause Earth curve, correct?
No. Boats disappearing from the bottom up.
Yeah, and the cause of that effect is Earth curve, according to you, correct?
Correct.
Right, go ahead, QE.
Let's see the experiment.
Take a pair of binoculars, go to the beach, make your own experiment, do your own research.
All right. Do you know what an experiment is?
Hello.
Hey, Arwin.
We're gonna let QE do it because he knows experiments the best, or at least he thinks he does.
I'll ask again. Do you know what an experiment is?
Radio problems?
Yeah, difficult question.
Maybe if I asked him a different question, maybe it might help.
No, please don't. Let him
Okay.
answer this question.
The most interesting thing is I plugged all these numbers into the Walter Bislin's advanced Earth curvature calculator, and what do you know? Matched my observations to a T.
That's not an experiment.
Sorry. The question before you
want to know what my independent variable was?
Sorry.
You want to know about the independent variable?
Sorry, you're asking us a question, but you've completely ignored, by way of total silence, and then an assertion about a calculator you've used, the question that was asked to you. Do you know what an experiment is?
The independent variable was the height of the observer.
That's what you think an experiment is.
Independently
Independent variable
varies
is
my
the height
height
of an
up and
observer.
down from water
Sorry,
level.
please don't make a statement. Stop talking and then talk over me when I reply. The question was, do you know what an experiment is? Your answer is, independent variable is height of observer. That's not an experiment or what an experiment is. So I would take it from that you don't know what an experiment is if that's your declaration upon being asked what an experiment is. Incorrect answer, you're wrong.
I'm on Discord, so it's a little choppy.
What is an experiment?
Apparently, it's still choppy.
Doesn't know the answer. That's why it goes silent. He'll make an assertion about something random when there's a long pause, like he did last time. He doesn't know the answer.
Yeah, and that wasn't a viable independent variable either. Height is not an independent variable. It doesn't cause anything, for crying out
Hey,
loud.
QE. You know what height causes? It causes a change in the distance to the horizon, because it's like mathematical when you're on a sphere. The higher up you go, the more distance to the horizon.
So
Have you done any experiments or observations on the beach?
What's the horizon?
That's where the sky meets the earth. Solid line.
No, the sky never meets the earth.
At the horizon.
No, it just appears that way. It's not an actual location. The sky doesn't actually meet the ground.
Why can't I see past the horizon then if it doesn't actually meet the ground?
So why are you asking
Why
me
can't I
something?
send any VHF radio signals over the horizon if it's not a hard physical place?
Say it again. Horizon is a not actual location. The sky does not meet the ground at that location. And now you seem to be talking through me. I'll try again.
Well, I'm on Discord.
I'll try
it's
again.
choppy.
Try shutting up, Brenda. So, let's say it slower and louder for our friend in Discord with a choppy signal. The horizon is not a physical location. It is not where the sky meets the ground. It is where the sky...
Would you care to...
Excuse me. The reason you can't hear me is because you're talking while I'm talking. I'll ask you for the third time to please not do that. Thank you. The horizon is... Can you pop yourself on mute, perhaps, while I'm talking, rather than moving around, rustling your microphone, complaining that there's a choppy signal while I'm in the middle of explaining something? For the third time. I'll attempt it again.
Making a cake for you.
You just need to shut up and put yourself on mute. That's all you need to do, my friend, while I explain that the horizon is not an actual location. It is not where the sky meets the ground, as declared by you. It is where the sky appears to meet the ground, a not actual location.
Over.
Just let me know when it's my turn. Just let me know.
Over.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Yeah, it's your turn now, dickhead. Speak.
So, question about the horizon not being an actual location, as you claim, which is completely false. So, if I send somebody out in a boat and I'm observing from a beach, and I send them out, I'm watching through my P1000 or my binoculars until I see the top of the boat disappear over the horizon. And then I radio to them, or maybe I call them on their cell phone and I say, hey, what's your latitude and longitude right now? And they send me back their coordinates. Is that not an actual location where they disappeared over the horizon and they just provided me their latitude and longitude?
No, because you didn't listen when I said it 3 times. When they disappeared over the horizon, what, like people disappear over the tops of hills? No, they don't disappear over the top of a not actual location. This is nonsense.
I just presented my case.
No, you didn't.
I'm sorry, I diverted. We still have yet to hear his definition of an experiment, please. Let's go back there.
Yeah, I agree.
Should just correct him on his definition of the horizon not being an apparent place.
Experiment.
We will.
When you take your
We'll get to that in a
P1000,
second. What's a scientific experiment?
and you start off on the water line and you take a picture of a ship.
That's not an experiment.
And you see a whole bunch of the ship.
Track.
I'm sorry, you see very little. You see very little of a ship.
He doesn't want to listen. We don't want you to detail. We don't want to detail what you think this is. This example you're giving as the example of what an experiment is. We don't want your crap version of a non-experiment. That's not what we want. We want you to tell us what specifically an experiment is.
Oh, I know what an experiment is. An experiment is when you observe solar noon, sun altitude.
Can't listen, he's a moron. I'll say it again because he's a complete thicko. No, I don't want you to explain an example of an experiment, which probably won't be one, but tell us specifically what an experiment is. So if I was to say what is a car, I don't want you to detail the specs of a Fiat Punto. I want you to describe what a car is. I don't want you to detail what you think an experiment is or an example of one. Just tell us what an experiment specifically is.
Why don't you Google it and tell me?
I already know, but you've claimed that you have an if and then relationship, cause and effect. And we're asking if, given that you have declared a cause and effect relationship with a independent variable claimed to be height, it immediately suggests that you haven't got the vaguest clue what science is. And we're asking you to define experiment so we can ascertain whether or not this is the case. We know what an experiment is. We talk about it all day, every day. You have come here and told us that an independent variable is height, making you a scientifically illiterate moron.
And how much Earth curvature do you take?
This isn't detailing what an experiment is. Tell me what you think an experiment is, not an example of what you have as what you think an experiment is, but specifically what any experiment could fall into these categories when detailed by you as being. What is an experiment?
Why don't you tell us about your last experiment regarding Earth curvature?
I'm not making a claim here. You're talking about moving up and down in the horizon and things disappear. Now you're asking me to claim that I've got... You're the one making a claim. So, no.
So you have done no experiments. Has Quantum Eraser done any experiments?
Who cares? This is a red herring fallacy. You have given us an example of an if and then relationship, a cause and effect relationship. And now we're asking you if you appreciate whether or not we're trying to ascertain your level of understanding in this regard. This regard being your claim that you're making.
Well, why don't you educate me? Tell me about your last experiment to determine the flatness of the Earth.
Not my last example of an experiment, the details of what makes an experiment an experiment. Whereas you're trying to segue away by saying, well, I'll give you a crap example of what I think an experiment is. Now, what's your last experiment? No. We're trying to ascertain whether or not you understand what science is by asking you specifically what an experiment is. And you keep telling us that we need to tell you about our last experiment, given that you've already made a claim here with a cause and effect relationship.
there seems to be no better expert here than you and Quantum Eraser in regards to experiments.
Oh, well, that's very kind. Thank you very much. Yes, we do know what we're talking about. You, however, seem to be a complete moron.
Flat.
So what's an experiment?
Hang on. Let me Google it.
Okay. Maybe parrot the first thing that Wiki says. See how you get on.
Wouldn't you already have to know what an experiment is? Why you need to Google it?
Just wasting your time. Let's move on.
I'm Googling it.
Okay, you Google it. We'll go over horizons. From Wiki, your alma mater, horizon is the apparent line that separates Earth from sky. Dictionary.com, horizon. The line or circle that forms the apparent boundary between Earth and sky. From Merriam-Webster, horizon. The line where the Earth seems to meet the sky. The apparent junction of Earth and sky sailing toward the horizon. From Oxford Dictionary's last one, horizon. The line at which the Earth's surface and sky appear to meet.
John, there is a secondary use for the word horizon, and I really want to apply it right now. The second noun is the limit of a person's knowledge, experience, or interest, and that applies right here, right now.
Thank you.
Did nobody get that?
I did. I thought it was amusing. I laughed. It's interesting that on this flat surface being presented by Flatsoid here, made by Jose Meza, who's one of the... Is he the owner, or is he just one of the moderators on 24/7?
Oh, by the way, that's not Flatsoid, that's Paul.
Oh, is it you presenting it, Paul? Sorry.
Sorry, I was talking, but I think I was on mute. Jose Mesa, yes, 24/7. He is one of the owners. Shout out to 24/7 live Discord and Betty's server. Flat Earth debate, science versus pseudoscience. Thanks.
So do you want to explain? Hold on. Hey, Chocolate. How you doing? And hey, Mind Warps. Can you just explain to us? I've got it nice and big, Paul. Can you just explain what's happening?
Sorry, I had to get myself off mute, so bear with me just a second. I'm not. This is obviously Jose's. It's not mine, but it looks like he's got a flat surface, and he's got a little boat that's off in the distance, and he's at probably the end of his driveway, and he's kind of at a high altitude when he first starts to take a picture, but he drops the camera down, and the boat starts to disappear bottom up, and there's looks like there's a little bit of a miraging effect going on that's probably affecting that a little bit. But the boat's on a flat surface disappearing from the bottom up.
Yeah, he's across the street taping it. It's on it's just a boat on the driveway, and he lowers the camera about like 2 inches or so. I don't know the exact number, but like
that's obviously the curve of the Earth.
Of course, from across the street, yes.
So we got any obstructions, curvature, no matter how optical it looks, we'll call it curve, and you guys can't prove it's not.
All right, back on topic. Has he got an experiment yet? Or the definition of experiment, sorry.
He can just read the chat in the Discord. I dropped one. I think even Brenda dropped one. She dropped the same one I did. So if he wants to go read it, it's in there. So
Do we have somebody Googling experiment right now?
Yes.
He's taking his time. Is he...
That's interesting. Riley, didn't we have a discussion about how they took cause and effect out of that?
I believe
the definition for experiment.
Yeah, we did, and I believe someone's put it back in. I believe there's been a bit of argy over it.
Right.
They put it back in.
They put it back in. Yes. Because I went to go look the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute. I remember clearly having a discussion about how this was taken out. So
Wiki, they're doing the Wiki two-step.
So what's
Trying
happening
to
is
gravel it away, but somebody put it back.
the Baltards are trying to change history, right? They're trying to change the meanings of words. And even the guys on Wikipedia realize that you can't make gravity a force just because you want it to be, right? You can't make Einstein not supersede Newton because he did. You've got to do what they say, right? That's what the science did.
Bro,
Hey, Nathan,
I went to go look at it just to
if
see
the airline
what it
pilot
looks like
guy
right
hasn't
now.
brought
I was just
any
like,
proof yet,
oh,
can
really?
I touch on something real quick?
Hold on, somebody's trying to get through in Discord. Say that again.
Sorry.
The airline pilot guy's not going to bring any proof. Could I touch on something real quick?
Hold on a second. You were interrupting Chocolate.
Oh my God. Let's not interrupt each other by telling each other we're being interrupted.
Yeah, Chocolate was saying something. Now he wants to bring up a new topic. Let Chocolate finish what he was saying, and then he can add to it or change the subject. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I was just trying to reiterate how we were talking about it, and I went to go look just a few days ago just to look it up, and there it is, cause and effect in the definition for experiment in Wiki. When clearly we had a discussion about how they took it out and then used the Wayback Machine to look at it, it was there. So now I go back there, and now it's there. So somebody's either doing some time dilation or something, or
They're trying to Mandela it away.
or
I mean, it's
something,
a
bro. I don't
technical
know.
definition of gaslighting, right?
Right.
Definitely
So,
flip-flopping. Anyway, go ahead, Babs.
Right. Okay, so about a week ago, I gave you guys an example of Coriolis that I wanted us to discuss. And after reviewing that show and watching back on what I said, I realized that I didn't make my point the way that I wanted to. Like, it wasn't articulated very well. So I'm going to ask Paul to present that image for me one more time. And this is going to be a segue into something else that I'm going to talk about as well.
I've got the triangle up right now,
Okay.
Babs.
Good. So Paul's
Not
got this
able to
triangle
triangles
up right now. So I just want to use this as an example of vectors. So what we were talking about last week is if a sniper is shooting at target B, and target B is rotating on the surface of Earth, it's going to be at location A after rotation. And C is also going to rotate as well. But the bullet is not going to be on the non-inertial reference frame. Therefore, it isn't going to rotate with a non-inertial reference frame. So you would have to aim ahead of your target in order to hit it, since it's on the rotating body. Another problem with this is that on a right angle triangle, the slanted side of the triangle is the longest side. And some snipers have claimed that they can hit targets that are 2 miles away, but that would require them to be shooting beyond the limit of their sniper rifle, if you get what I'm saying.
Have you ever
So now
shot a
that we're
rifle,
done with
son?
that point,
Have you ever shot a rifle? Shut your mouth. Have you ever shot a rifle?
you live under power lines, John?
You mainline fluoride.
No, I haven't
There is
shot a
nobody
rifle, no.
that aims at point A to hit B or aims at B to hit A. That is friggin' nonsensical buffoonery.
Did Rumpus tell you that?
It's nonsense, but that's what's claimed by the heliocentric model.
I don't care what they
That if
claim.
something is
I've
rotating,
made
it's gonna
these
be
shots.
in a different location.
Can you hear? Can you hear when I'm talking?
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Can you hear when I'm speaking?
Affirmative, yeah.
Then why did you monologue for 3 minutes over this horse shit while I was telling you to stop when you said snipers do this?
I couldn't hear when you said that.
So you can't hear when you're talking.
No, I
Give
can't
us an
hear other
example.
people while I'm talking. If you're talking while I'm talking, I can't hear you.
Diagrams Babs, I want you to show us live a sniper aiming at point B, trying to hit A. Show
I
it.
didn't say that's what snipers do.
Oh my
That's not what I
God.
said. You're
I'm out.
misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you are, John. He's
Are
trying
you
to say
referring
that-
to the absurdity of it all?
Is he just choosing to misunderstand what I'm saying? Because that's not what I'm saying is going to happen.
No, I don't think he's listening properly. I think he's too busy jumping on you rather than listening.
So are you trying to divine my thoughts? Are you trying to divine my choices? Do you have special Evo mind powers or something?
He's making a different
Oh,
point.
you're
John.
just talking over top of me, right?
Actions speak louder than words, John.
Actions speak louder than... What type of actions do you want, Arwen? You want me to come over and club you one?
No, he's trying. The guy's not making the point you think he's making, John.
Oh, what point is he making, Tony? Why don't you break it down for me?
He's saying that this is the arguing point that they say, right? He's not making the point himself. He's saying that that's what they say.
Okay, so he's saying that snipers point or aim at A to hit B, or point and aim at B to hit A. Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, but it's not his point. He's saying
you did get that wrong. That is what I said,
God.
but I said that that's what they'd have to do if they were on a rotating Earth, but they don't do that, is what I said.
Yeah, I agree. He's right.
Oh wow, then that could have took
So
like 10
we're
seconds.
all in
and then you
agreement.
could have moved. So 10 seconds.
Yeah,
you
we're
could
all
have
in
said that.
agreement. It doesn't happen.
Oh my God.
You live under power lines.
I agree with chocolate.
Talk over top of me.
I agree with chocolate.
This is a joke. What the hell's going on?
It doesn't happen.
Some people can't get things out in 10
That's
seconds.
what's going on. Let's go.
Why do I only have 10 seconds to make a point? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You don't. Just some people can't get thoughts out in 10 seconds concisely, and that's just the issue.
If I can't get to the end of what I'm saying, then you're not going to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
I totally agree.
At the end of what you
yesterday
at
with
the end of
Coriolis,
what you
and John
said,
jumped on me too, 'cause
John
he
said to
appreciated what I was talking.
at the end of what you said, John said to show him that. Right? You agreed. It doesn't happen. It's not your story. It's their story. So unless they've shown you and you can show us or somebody shows somebody, that shit ain't happening. That's it. Nobody points at B to hit A. Nobody points at A to hit B. That's not real life.
He's not listening
All right,
to you,
I'm done.
Chocolate. He's over talking you.
Babs, we good? Or do you have a further point?
Can I speak now?
Yeah. I'm asking you if you're good on that point, or you have something further. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good on that point. I wasn't saying that that's what happens. I was just saying that that's their narrative, and that's what they'd have to do if we were on a rotating Earth, but we're not.
You've said that 10 times already. We know that. We need to see it. Actually, not on a line diagram of your little freaking triangle.
Why are you yelling at the guy who was all standing around with us beating the dead horse? Did he kick it wrong or something?
He's just yelling at me because he lives under power lines and he's under a lot of EMF frequency right now.
Your sister doesn't.
No,
mind.
Babs, you're just droning. You just drone.
That's what he does. He
So
drones.
I can't even get past this. Like, I'm trying to get past this and I'm not. you're not letting me
Babs,
get
all
past
right. Let's go. Let's get past it right now. So what's your next
We can
point?
drone on about it for 10 minutes so we can get past it. So I
all right, but I'm saying right now, let's get past it. Come on, man.
On, please, let's move on, Babs.
Let's go. What's up?
All right. So can Paul put up the next image that I sent him?
Bloody hell, it worked.
Go ahead. It's the soccer ball kicker with the ball and the grass.
Yeah, that's the one that we're going to move to next. So when we're talking about bullets, we're talking about projectile motion, and everything that is in projectile motion is on a path that's called a trajectory. So if you look at this graph, it represents different vectors that are moving in different trajectories. And with this ball, the S represents the magnitude or the force that the ball is moving with. And the X coordinate represents the distance that the ball is traveling. And the Y axis represents the vector of either upwards or downwards, up being positive and down being negative. So this is the same thing that happens with a bullet as well. When it's fired, it's subject to all these different vectors that are going to make it move in all these different directions.
What did you say S represented?
Distance.
Sorry, I think it cut off first syllable. What did you say the S represented?
Distance.
For the S?
I thought it represented the vector that the ball is traveling on.
Are you talking about the slanted line or the flat line?
No, the straight line with the arrow on the end that's got labeled S for sugar.
S, as in Sierra, S.
S represents the magnitude of force that the ball is traveling with.
So the magnitude is the direction that the ball is actually traveling. It's not what you think it's traveling. It's what it's actually doing. So it's not what you're describing as the path the ball ends up at. It's not the vector.
Have cowbell to go with what you're saying?
Yeah, I shot a gun yesterday, Babs, and the barrel had rifling on it, so it doesn't come out with a spin the way this ball is doing, to where you're leading the player with your foot. And I hit the target because I was aiming at the target. So I don't know why you're using a guy who puts spin on a ball to represent a bullet.
Is Babs American? Because if I'm not having a lesson off an American about soccer.
You just said
Not putting a spin on the ball. Dimensional image. There's no.
Have you shot a gun before? In this decade?
That whale is the nicest
I was making
thing
a racket
all day.
Great big police siren in the background on Discord.
Yeah,
Babs,
they're coming to get Babs.
Have you ever shot a gun before, Babs?
Yes, I have. Sorry about that. There was a fire truck driving by my house. And yes, I have shot a handgun before, but not a sniper rifle.
That's fine. Yeah. Have you ever aimed at B to hit A?
That's not what we're talking about right now. You're obfuscating.
I just want to add. No, I'm not obfuscating. You're trying to show the soccer image to coincide with your first image. I'm asking you, when you shoot a gun, do you aim at B to hit A?
No, but in the second image, we're not aiming at anything. I'm just explaining to you what happens to objects that are in projectile motion.
As a kid, when I played ball, I realized what happens when I kick a ball.
Okay.
So if the player, if my teammate is running, I have to lead him because he's running towards a direction, and I got to lead him with the ball. I can't kick at him because he won't be there.
Was there a concluding point that you wanted to make, Babs?
I've barely even gotten halfway to what I'm talking about because all the interruptions and. Could I just get like 5 minutes uninterrupted? I know you guys are dying to interrupt. Could you just leave it to the end of the presentation?
Monologuing
so
nonsensically.
You poor baller.
The problem is a 5-minute monologue is not ideal.
No, you can have 2 minutes. Go ahead. No one will interrupt you.
Okay, and I'm not monologuing here. So directly under the image, Anthony, you can see that it says its magnitude is S. And you're saying that that's not what S represents, but we'll talk about that later. So what I was using this diagram for is to represent the different vectors that are acting upon that ball that's moving in projectile motion, which is similar to the motion that the bullet is going to be moving in. Since I only have 2 minutes, let's just move on to the next image that I gave you, Paul.
You're good with moving on, Paul?
This transition's part of your 2 minutes.
Ready when you are.
Yeah. So, right. So the two-dimensional image that was before this could be representational on a non-rotational surface because it's not affected by rotation. It's only affected by the vectors that were included in that diagram. But if we're to consider this to be taking place on a rotating surface, if you look at this diagram here, you can see that the concentric circles rotate slower the closer you get to the center of the circle. These race cars represent a track that they'd be traveling on at a specific velocity. So car number 1 is traveling at 100 kilometers per hour. Car number 2 is traveling at 90 kilometers per hour, all with an increment of 10 kilometers between each car as you go to the center. If we were to take car number 1 and place it on track number 2, because it's moving at a faster velocity and at a different rate than track number 2, it's going to be ahead of car number 2. And that's the same thing that's happening with the bullet that's being fired from north to south. Since it is in the track, which is number 1, and is maintaining the velocity of rotation, it would be moving at 100 kilometers, similarly to that car on that track. When it enters the second track, which is moving slower, it's still going to be moving at 100 kilometers, so it's going to appear to curve because it's ahead of the other. It's moving faster than the other elements that are on that track. Similarly to what you see on a merry-go-round, when a ball is thrown to the opposite side, you see the ball appear to take a curved path because it's entering areas that are rotating at slower speeds, whereas it's still maintaining that same rotation from the location that it was launched from. Okay, I'm done.
It's wrong. The ball's not curving. Totally wrong. The ball's not curving, number 1, at all. Number 2, it's not curving because it's entering an area of different rotation speeds. It's totally unaffected by the roundabout that's underneath it. It's travelling in a different reference frame. So no, it's sod all to do with the speed of the rotation underneath it.
It's not curving, it appears to curve. It's an apparent fictitious force that appears to make it seem like it's deflecting.
But
there is no the ball or the bullet.
Yeah, but you've now added an extra element that wasn't in your description. So now you've got an observer watching things traverse reference frames. But that wasn't in your example.
No, it was not. You're right.
This is a total train wreck. What a waste of 3 minutes.
More like 5.
Anthony, you've got something juicy though, haven't you?
Have I?
Yeah. The Holy Bible of Ballheads.
Oh. You're going to have to give me a minute to find it. I'm not prepped for this, Nathan. Bear with me. Come back to me in a few minutes. Oh, by the way, I do want to ask him about vectors. Can you go back to Paul? Can you go back to that image where the footballer's kicking the ball? Okay, so we've got on screen the footballer kicking the ball, right? And you've got it labeled as S, as a straight line with the arrow on the end of it. And I questioned you on what you said, and I thought you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you said was S was the vector that the ball's traveling in, or words very similar to that. And then you identified underneath that the vector was described as the vector S has components X and Y along the horizontal and vertical axis. The label that is identified as S isn't the vector. The vector is the direction of travel of the ball and the magnitude it's traveling in. And in a curved path, it would be a continuously variable vector. So it's incorrectly labeled that. That is not identifying the vector. So S is not the vector. Even though it says that, that's not what the vector is. I'm done.
The different vectors that you're thinking about that ball is being affected by would be the Y and X vectors that are making it appear to curve. But S is constant. It's moving in a constant direction. S.
But it isn't, though, is it? It's moving on a curved path, and that's not a constant direction, you moron.
Curved path is on the different vectors, Anthony.
Yeah,
it's
and your
on the S vector.
That picture says the vector S, which is a straight line, is not the path that the ball's taking. The vector that the ball is taking is not a straight line. Where did you get the picture from?
One of the vectors that the ball is taking. The ball is taking multiple different vectors.
Correct. But on the diagram, it indicates that S is a straight line with a large magnitude, and it's indicating that that is, well, it says on the label that it's the vector S has components X and Y along the horizontal and vertical axis. Its magnitude is S. But it's not, though, is it? The path of the ball doesn't have that magnitude the way it's described. It's incorrect.
Vector S wasn't one of the paths that the ball is taking. It wouldn't go in that direction. It would just not go in that direction. So vector S is one of the paths that the ball is taking. You're saying it's not.
No, vector S is not one of the paths that the ball is taking. The ball's on a curved trajectory, and it is going the long way round, right? It is not on that vector that's described as labeled on the picture. Where did you get the picture from?
I got it from lumenlearning.com, and it was one of the physics courses that I'm looking into right now. I can post the link for you if you want it.
So you got a physics course, natural science with soccer balls and Jose right here, right? Is that physics?
I haven't shown any Jose anywhere. I don't know.
You got Jose here on the screen with blue shorts, high tube socks, and a soccer ball. This is all man-made stuff, right? Is that physics? Right? Do you have a point somewhere in this 30 minutes? What is your point?
I have made several points, but you've just chosen to ignore them.
Oh, now you're defining my choices, right? Do you know me? What's my favorite color?
Brown.
Yeah, brown.
Does he have a point? Can we get to a point sometime this morning, right? Before I eat breakfast, sometime this morning, we get to a point so we can move on.
The point is that Anthony's wrong. He's saying that S isn't one of the vectors, but if S wasn't one of the vectors, the ball wouldn't move in that direction.
You're like all the ballers. Do you think like you're scientific if you say vector? What's your vector, Victor? Roger, Roger. We have Clarence, Clarence. What is a vector?
A vector is direction and magnitude, and S is labeled as a long, straight line, and that's denoting the direction of travel and the magnitude. And that ball is not on that trajectory, and it is not at that magnitude. It is on a curved path, and it is on a reducing rate. So that S is incorrectly labeled on your diagram. And if you're paying for that physics course, I suggest you get your money back.
There is another.
I'm paying for it, but do you understand what axes are? Different axes.
Can we get to
understand what different axes are, Anthony?
Can we get to a point? Forget the S. What is your point with the bullet and the soccer ball?
Point that it follows the same path that the bullet does, and it's under several different vectors of force that are going to affect the path that it takes.
Several different vectors of so vectors cause forces now?
Yes, they do. They don't cause forces, but they are the result of forces.
Oh, I said, does vectors cause forces?
No.
Thank you. Can we get to a point?
Yeah, I'll just round it out because I'm sick of hearing it. This is just a simple conflation. So the ball in the example with the soccer ball is actually taking a curved trajectory. It's got a curved path. The bullet in the example that's claimed to be deviating from your vantage point on a non-inertial reference frame is not bending. So you've got two different examples. One's seeming to bend because it's claimed to have an non-inertial reference frame spinning underneath it. The other one is actually bending. That's all that's happening here.
The bend in the soccer ball image represents the drop that is going to affect the bullet as it travels along the y-axis. The weight of the bullet is going to cause it to follow that same parabolic path as the ball does.
Who cares? The drop of the bullet's got sod all to do with Coriolis deviation, though, has it?
It doesn't, but it's related to the point that I was making on the last show about what happens to the bullet over distance, and we didn't get.
So the bullet.
Oh gosh, Babs, let it go! My gosh, the bullet loses velocity, it slows down and goes boom, boom.
Yeah, wow, that's astonishing. Let me call my wife.
That isn't the that isn't the conclusion we got to on the last show. It's not. So what are you talking about?
Why does a bullet slow down, Babs?
Because of the different forces that are acting upon it.
If you kick a soccer ball, does it ever slow down?
Yeah.
Why does the soccer ball slow down?
The same reason that the bullet does, the different forces that are acting upon it.
So the velocity is stronger at the beginning and it tapers off eventually to nothing, so it has to fall down, go boom, boom, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what's that got to do with Coriolis?
Precisely. What the hell does that have to do with Coriolis effect? Absolutely nothing is the answer.
It's just more baller.
It doesn't have anything to do with Coriolis, but the race car example with the different cars and the different tracks does.
Oh my god.
No, it doesn't. The race car example hasn't got any Coriolis effect. If you've got race cars travelling around on a racetrack and the ones in the centre travel a shorter distance, that's got sod all to do with Coriolis effect.
Race cars were representational of what would happen to objects that are on those different latitude lines.
You're already begging the question that the Earth is spinning rather than proving it first.
Wait a second. Where's the cars at?
I am begging that question.
Well, then stop begging the question and prove it first before you put race cars doing stuff that race cars don't do.
So are the race cars in the inertial frame?
Coriolis in the first place.
So are the race cars in the inertial frame?
Earth rotation.
Oh my god! Are the race cars in the inertial frame of reference?
No, they're in the non-inertial frame of reference.
And what the hell? What are you talking about?
Before you fire the bullet, is it in the inertial reference frame or non-inertial reference frame?
The bullet is in the inertial reference frame when it's after it's fired.
I'm talking about before it's fired.
Oh my god.
Babs, when the bullet's still in the gun, it's in the non-inertial reference frame, which is supposed to be the rotating Earth. When it leaves the gun, it leaves that reference frame into the inertial reference frame, and that's how you're supposed to see Coriolis.
Everything that is on the non-inertial reference frame is going to be moving with it. Even after it leaves and goes into the inertial reference frame, it is still going to maintain that rotation.
Conservation of momentum, then how do you get Coriolis effect, clown?
Yeah, bro.
Get it because of conservation of momentum.
You're certifiable, Babs.
The bullet has
Sorry,
the bullet has
Time, you got
conserved.
No, shut this guy up. This guy affected me like a baller now. I mean, who knows? Maybe he really is. This guy drones on and drones on and drones on.
Right, Babs, can you
Go to
answer
show
the
950 to 960 and learn about Coriolis, and then come back.
Babs, can you answer John's question again? I didn't quite catch what you said, and I don't think most other people did either. John said, if conservation of momentum is the explanation that you gave, then how do you have Coriolis?
Sure. When the bullet is still in the non-inertial reference frame, and it's on a latitude that is moving faster than the latitude that it's going to be in after it's fired, it's conserving that momentum. When it moves into a latitude that's moving slower, it appears to deviate because it is still rotating at that same rate it was rotating at the latitude that the bullet was fired from.
So what's the answer to the question, and how do you have Coriolis given conservation of momentum?
I just answered it.
Yeah, but you did it convoluted. Just do it in one sentence.
Okay, in one sentence. So the bullet is on a latitude that's moving faster than the other latitudes that it's going to travel to after it's fired. Because it's moving faster, when it goes into those latitudes, it's still moving at that same rate. Therefore, it's going to overlap everything else that's in that latitude and appear to deviate.
But the problem is there is no apparent deviation.
No, there isn't.
Oh,
so
gosh. Babs,
fail,
answer me this. Answer me this, Babs. Is the Earth spinning or not?
From what I know and what I've seen so far, no, it's not spinning.
Well, then, if the Earth is not spinning, what is the point you're trying to make with Coriolis when there's no Earth-based Coriolis?
The point that I'm making is that this is what you should expect to see on a rotating body with a non-inertial reference frame and an inertial reference frame, but we don't see this.
Correct. We don't see it. So what do we infer from that lack of evidence?
What we infer from this is that this is the correct explanation for what's actually taking place. And it's better to take apart the correct definitions and representations of arguments rather than using straw man.
What's the straw man?
I've heard several things that were mentioned, like conservation of momentum not being a real thing. And that's not true, because that's required for Coriolis effect.
To have Earth-based Coriolis.
That's required to have Coriolis to work. That's what you said?
Exactly. All those elements need to be there in order for Coriolis
but if
to
you're
work.
conserving momentum, how do you have Coriolis?
Exactly, Chocolate. You all missed the contradiction.
To have...
Exactly. He said it's travelling at the same rate, and then he contradicted himself and said that's why you get the deviation. So you can't be travelling at the same rate and have deviation, because that's travelling at a different rate. That was where the contradiction came in his statement. Correct, Chocolate?
All the latitude lines are traveling at different rates.
Babs, do you get that? Babs, do you get that whenever they say conservation of momentum, right? They're arguing for things continuing to move with the Earth as it leaves the reference frame. But if that happens, you have no Coriolis. You only have Coriolis if something is rotating underneath something that's flying straight in the inertial reference frame through the air. Do you get that?
But you wouldn't have Coriolis if the object is staying in the same latitude, but it's not. It's moving into different latitudes.
The problem is not the latitude. That's the straw man.
It is.
Okay? The latitude change is not the cause of the Coriolis. that might affect, in their fantasy world, that might affect the speed at which it moves. But as soon as it leaves the non-inertial reference frame, the gun, right, that's still on Earth, attached to the guy that's still on Earth, that's the non-inertial reference frame. As soon as he shoots that bullet, it's out of the non-inertial reference frame, in the inertial reference frame. That's how you see the Coriolis. But that doesn't happen. Do you get it? The latitude nonsense is
it would happen. No, the latitude is not nonsense, because if it's rotating at a slower speed and with conservation of momentum, when that bullet goes into a different latitude, it's going to be moving faster. It's going to be rotating faster.
He needs to get kicked out.
Oh, this guy's ridiculous. He's back to assuming that the Earth is spinning.
Yeah,
No, but
and latitude constitute the Coriolis effect. He's been circle jerking us for the past 45 minutes, right? Are you going to continue to let him go? I can eat breakfast. Go ahead.
Babs, you do realize that this
Giving
only
you all
happens-
the elements that are necessary for Coriolis, you can't remove certain elements and expect to have the same effect.
Define the Coriolis effect and post the citation of the Coriolis effect right now, clown.
Okay, one moment, please.
Oh gosh, take him off, please.
The only true elements for Coriolis are inertial reference frame, non-inertial reference frame, and a projectile and spin, right? That is the basic part of Coriolis. Am I incorrect?
No, you're
There you
right.
go.
It works on the roundabout, because the roundabout is moving, and when you throw the ball, it's going straight, but because you're moving underneath it, it looks like the ball is curving. But the Earth doesn't move. Can we
Yes,
go on
but
to the next
you need to
subject?
have all those minimum for Coriolis. But hey, look, this gentleman is much more entertaining to listen to than, say, Brenda or some fool. I mean, I understand he's getting it wrong, but we're all sitting here shooting holes in Coriolis, gravity, all sorts of things. And so, you know, maybe his gun misfired and he's not getting it right. But, I mean,
He's
cut him a little
daft.
bit of slack here.
He's daft. He doesn't even drone properly. I mean, I'm losing every third sentence. He doesn't even stay in context.
I'm not deaf. Don't use those ad homs on me.
I'll use it. My brain is tired.
It is really
The
difficult.
same thing does happen on the
Babs,
merry-go-round, because
Babs,
there are
is
different
that
concentric circles.
is that
are
you're
moving at
falling
different
for the
speeds.
okie doke, Babs?
Who
You're
would have
falling for the
thought
banana
Babs
and the
would trigger
tailpipe.
10th man?
That's what the latitude thing is, man. To have Coriolis, something has to leave the ground. It's as simple as that.
Really?
Okay.
You see Coriolis
Yes.
in a merry-go-round because it
It's
consists
really as
of
simple as
different
that. Something has to
concentric
leave the
circles
non-inertial reference
of
frame.
varying sizes.
That's it.
Babs, do you think that you're going to be? Do you think you're going to get the?
Do we observe the Coriolis effect on a merry-go-round? Yes.
Yes.
Do we have latitude and longitude lines on the merry-go-round?
No.
No.
Okay. So can we
You
move
do
on?
have concentric circles of varying sizes on a merry-go-round.
So,
Is that a
You
latitude,
have concentric
Babs?
circles of varying
Is that a
sizes
is
on
that
a
a change in
merry-go-round.
latitude, Babs? On the merry-go-round, do you
Yeah, that is the same.
believe that
That is the same as latitude.
that's a change of latitude on a merry-go-round?
Concentric circles of varying sizes are latitudes.
Is that a
Those would be fictitious circles that you're drawing in your head. But regardless, do you really feel you're going to get to the resolution on your point in this show? Because judging by the room,
I can't believe that you're not understanding that concentric circles of varying sizes are latitude lines, and the merry-go-round also has concentric circles similar to those on Earth. How are you not getting that?
and with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Just do a few shout outs. So shout out to Colin Turner, who says, lovely baby. Thank you very much indeed, Colin Turner, for the super chat. Dave Rakia Gafford, who says, 4 more seconds past this guy. Put him on mute, Rakia life. And last but not least, is it Fat Bike Nomad. This is $2 worth so much more to me than most. Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. Fat Bike Nomad, really appreciate your support. A massive thank you to all of today's debating panel. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
All right, thanks.
I'm sure he's a nice guy, but fuck me, he's hard to listen to.
Well, gee, thanks. You think you'd said sooner. 1,000 shows.
Babs, you still there?
Please, no. Can we move on to the main subject that we wanted to talk about today? Por favor.
What's the main subject you want to talk about?
Oh, got a load of feedback from somebody in Discord. Somebody in Discord's got feedback. I'll just have to cut Discord till you sort it out. Someone's got a shed load of feedback. Yeah, the main subject of the live show was supposed to be the Globehead Bible, and we didn't even bring it up. Well, bummer.
We got stuck in the Coriolis.
Oh no. I see why people get annoyed at me now.
I wanted to try to dead it with 1 point. I don't know. I'm not sure if he'll get it or not. Because this latitude thing is just, it's insane. And people are falling for it.
It's only a latitude line on the
map. They're trying to prove Coriolis somewhere. It must be somewhere, somehow, even though it's not there, because if it would be there, it would be everywhere. But they're still trying to find it, despite them knowing that it can't really be there. Just like gravity. Just
look,
gotta find
it. You got the drone on the merry-go-round, right? And the merry-go-round is spinning. So the drone, you don't change just point the stick up. The drone goes straight up, not changing direction or latitude or anything, just straight up. Is the guy still going to see the drone deviating?
Yeah.
There's a wind.
Yeah, right? But he didn't change latitudes, right? He just went straight up. Still Coriolis, right? There you go. It's done. Dead. Next.
Well, at least I'll have to give this out. Brenda did post this GIF. It looks like it's correct about Coriolis.
Nothing Brenda does is correct. What are you talking about?
What? Who did what?
She posted this GIF, so I just thought I'd share it. It's demonstrating Coriolis.
Yeah, pretty good GIF. So on the top one, you've got the viewer from the inertial reference frame, and on the bottom one, you've got the viewer from the non-inertial reference frame. So on the top one, you can see the ball in actuality travelling in a straight line from the centre of this roundabout to the bottom of the roundabout. In other words, the ball is actually moving straight. In both examples, in the bottom example, you've got what you would see if you were sat on the roundabout. So the ball appears to be curving. Well, the ball isn't actually curving, it's moving in a straight line. It just seems that way because you're moving on the non-inertial spinning reference frame beneath the ball travelling in a straight line. So it's a very good GIF.
And that's what I was going to give shout out to Brenda. She was the one posted it, so I know, but hostile witness.
Shout out retracted.
Did you say Brenda posted this?
Yeah.
Get it off screen.
Burn it.
Hey Nathan. Hey Nathan. But if the Earth were spinning, then why don't we see any Coriolis effect?
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Very concisely put. If the Earth was spinning, why don't we have any Coriolis deviation?
It seems to be deliberately obfuscated, that point.
Of course it is.
It's the very foundation
That's the whole point.
of the point they're trying to subvert. That is what they do.
Yeah. We observe Coriolis effect. We observe it.
Where?
On the Earth.
Where, Brenda?
Hurricanes.
Go ahead, say it. Oh, there you go. I knew you were going to say. I was waiting.
I'd like to hear that. Go on, tell us about it, Brenda. Hurricanes. Explain that to us.
Hurricanes spin one direction in the northern hemisphere and the other direction in the southern hemisphere. And they do that. That motion is explained by Coriolis.
Can you explain that motion by way of Coriolis? Explain
I just did. It's counterclockwise in one hemisphere.
No,
and
not what
clockwise in the other.
happens. Explain how that is Coriolis. Link that to Coriolis and explain it within the context of Coriolis, please.
Right, because on a spinning globe, and in one hemisphere, particles that are moving will be deflected in one direction, and in the other hemisphere, they're deflected in the other direction.
So
Hence,
you're
you
of the-
get
so
two
you're of the-
counter-rotating systems of hurricanes.
So you're of the impression that the way the hurricane deviates is because of the rotation in the varying hemispheres, correct?
Well, Coriolis is a real effect. So atmospheric conditions will rotate in one direction in the north and the other direction in the south.
So you believe that Coriolis gives you this differing direction of spin?
It's not a belief.
Sorry,
It's
just
not
a
a
yes
belief.
or no.
Just a
I'm just
fact.
summarizing your point. Am I correct in my summary? You believe that the rotation of the Earth will give you the differing actual spin directions of hurricanes, correct?
Yeah, it's due to the Coriolis effect.
Yes, I understand your claim. Because of Coriolis, you have differing directions of spin in hurricanes. I just want you to say yes, you've summarized my position.
I said yes. I said
Excellent. You are completely and totally and utterly incorrect and do not have the vaguest understanding of what Coriolis is. Coriolis is a not actual deviation. An apparent deviation, i.e. the ball travels in a straight line and only appears to deviate because you rotate underneath. So Brenda, given that these hurricanes have actual spin directions, how would it be the case that we're seeing not actual deflection in these actual spin directions?
the same way that the ball on the roundabout deflects.
Oh, I see. So the wind is actually travelling in a straight line, but only appears to deflect because we're rotating underneath. You're of the opinion that, like the ball, the wind travels in a straight line and only seems to deviate.
On a roundabout, the ball
The wind.
deflects.
The wind. You think the wind's travelling in a straight line?
We're not talking about wind.
Yeah, we're talking about hurricanes.
Are we talking
we're
about
talking
a hurricane?
about Coriolis.
Yeah, we're talking about hurricanes, your example of Coriolis. Now I'm going to make it plain again that your assertion, while you interrupt me, would imply that wind travels in a straight line when it's a hurricane and only appears to deviate because we rotate underneath. So you think the hurricane travels in a straight line, Brenda?
No, the hurricane has an actual rotation.
Well, then it's not Coriolis. Coriolis is an actual deviation, Brenda. It's not actual deviation.
It's actual. Coriolis is a real thing. It's a real effect, and it
Let's
causes.
just say it again, because she's stupid. She thinks Coriolis deviation is actual deviation. At a fundamental level, she is retarded. Coriolis is a not actual deviation. Hurricanes have actual spin directions. At a fundamental level, you are retarded and do not understand what Coriolis effect is. It is that simple, Brenda. You are stupid.
Yeah,
Oh,
Brenda,
hurricanes,
if the
spin
hurricanes
to
were
the-
Coriolis effect, that means that the Earth is literally spinning in the eye of the hurricane, the axis of the spin of the Earth would be perpendicular to that supposed hurricane. How does that make any damn sense?
It doesn't.
That's a straw.
No, it's not a straw man. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Coriolis effect is not actual deviation, and you've made it plain. Hurricanes are actual spin directions. Now, your assertion would imply that the wind travels in a straight line and only appears to deviate because you're rotating underneath, if it's an example of Coriolis effect. It isn't. You clearly don't understand what Coriolis effect is because you've declared that these actual spin directions are actual examples of actual deviation, ergo Coriolis effect. It isn't, because Coriolis effect is not an actual deflection. The wind's not travelling in a straight line with you rotating underneath it, making it seem like they travel in actual spin directions. They have actual spin directions, unlike Coriolis, which you don't understand, Brenda.
Coriolis is a real effect. It's an actual deviation.
No, it isn't.
Is the wind moving straight?
For the second time. No, you're wrong. It's not an actual deviation. It's an apparent deviation. You are completely wrong.
Brenda,
I'm
concede. You are, Brenda, you're wrong.
Right. So if I'm a
How can you
sniper,
claim
and I
that
aim at an object,
hurricanes
I
are
have
the
to take it. I have to
Shut
aim
up, Brenda.
right or left.
Shut your stupid mouth. You've declared that Coriolis effect is actual deviation, and you're wrong. Now I'm going to give you one chance to admit your stupidity, or I'm kicking you out of here.
Can I ask one thing as well? while I'm here?
Coriolis.
It's actually quite good that she came in.
I just want you to shut up so she can either concede her stupidity or get kicked out. It's not an actual deflection,
Before
you
kick her,
idiot.
can I ask a question?
I just want Brenda to respond.
Hold on.
She's about to get kicked.
Is her like name actually super Cami Popo?
Brenda, either concede that you don't understand what Coriolis effect is, given that you've declared it's an actual deviation, or be kicked out. Which is it?
It depends on your reference frame. That's what the whole dispute is about.
Sorry,
Whether
hurricanes.
depends on your
Brenda,
reference frame.
Brenda,
You don't.
hurricanes. Shut up. Hurricanes have actual spin directions, and therefore are definitely not an example of Coriolis effect, which is an effect of not actual deviation. You are definitely wrong. This is your last chance to say, I appreciate that the declaring that Coriolis is an actual deflection, as you have done, is wrong, because it is wrong.
In the GIF that I posted, it depends on
Fuck off.
the reference.
Fuck off. Doesn't depend on the reference frame. It's not an actual deflection. It's an apparent deflection, unlike fucking hurricanes.
Brenda, it's a gift.
Come on, Nathan. Hurricanes and all. That means that if it was Coriolis, that the Earth would literally spin underneath that hurricane.
Horse shit. The GIF? Really? The GIF? Are you giving us a jar of peanut butter? It's a gift, you friggin' shoe clown.
Yeah, that first letter, Brenda's a G, not a J.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't understand what Coriolis effect is. She made it quite overt and plain that it's actual deviation demonstrated in Coriolis effect. No. Absolutely and totally incorrect. She doesn't understand what Coriolis effect is. She made it plain that these hurricanes are showing Coriolis effect. No, they are not. Now, while we here appreciate that Discovery Channel will tell you that, they'll also tell you that Coriolis effect is the bloody bog water travelling in different directions. No, you're just fooled because you're stupid and don't understand what Coriolis effect is. And then appeal to your GIF. What a moron.
Well, it's actually real simple. Can she demonstrate that those hurricane winds are moving in its reference frame in a straight line? They can demonstrate that those...
Relevant.
It is relevant because that's what they're saying. The inertial reference frame is the ball is moving in a straight line and it's apparently deflecting in the non-inertial reference frame. They have to prove that the hurricane winds are moving in a straight line. what reference frame can you get into to show that they're moving in a straight line?
Precisely. For it to be a not actual deviation, the hurricanes, which have spin directions, according to Brenda, are actually moving in a straight line, just like Kosho declared. Complete idiocy from fundamentalist religious zealots who think they live on a ball, and hurricanes, which have actual spin directions, are displaying not actual deviation. No, they have actual spin directions, you complete retards. With that, I'll say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show and live show possible. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!